everybody! Welcome to TNT Stories!
We have a full lineup tonight, so let's get right to it. Coming up first to the stage.
She's going to be having a great show at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. So please put your hands together for the amazing Ersilia Pompilio!
Once upon a time, I was sitting in my attorney's office, crying, and I wasn't crying the, movie girl cry. No, I was blubbering. I was hyperventilating crying. I was crying like that 2-year-old that stops breathing. And the reason why I was crying was I was getting a divorce only after 6 months that I was married. Now, the crying freaked my attorney out so much, she told me to go get therapy. But I was like, I'm Italian, we don't get therapy. We just go around pretending like nothing happened. Because if we tell anybody about what's going on in our family, then someone's bound to blow up our cars or something. So instead of going to therapy, I ended up getting a job at the happiest place on earth, Disneyland. And at Disneyland, I was Tinkerbell, flying across the Magic Castle. And people actually believe me when I tell them that I was Tinkerbell. I was like, me, Tinkerbell, have you seen me? But what I really was doing there was, I was a nurse. And people don't believe that they have nurses at Disneyland. And I'm like, are you crazy? They have to have nurses at Disneyland. All those millions of people with ears on their head and princess skirts going around. And that's not even what the kids wear. So they're all going to pay homage to their king, Mickey Mouse, right in the middle of the park. And my office, which was a first aid office, was just right to the right of that, right where the statue was, in the middle. And it was actually a cool place working there, and it was kind of an escape. I kind of felt like Peter Pan escaping to Never Never Land, just not wanting to deal with my problems. And we were treated like royalty there, the nurses. We got to eat in the commissary with all the princesses who were in their underwear, and it was amazing to eat pancakes with Cinderella. Ariel was always naked because they don't wear underwear, the shells and stuff like that. Sleeping Beauty, she was always asleep. But it was great, and it was a nice escape. Now, lots of things can go wrong. And I had this wheelchair full of stuff, like I had an AED machine, automatic electronic defibrillator, I had an oxygen tank, I had everything to save anyone's life, and I was awesome. I was like the super nurse, running around the Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, here. And, there were people that had heart attacks. There was a lady that had a seizure in the Haunted Mansion because she just got discharged the day before with a seizure disorder. Yeah, and that's where I'm going to go, Disneyland. There was a girl who got stuck in the Roger Rabbit ride, and we had to call the battalion chief and 5 fire trucks to come and cut her out with the jaws of life. So lots of shit could happen at Disneyland. But the best part was the day Mickey got beat up by a bunch of high school students. And I got called in. I had a walkie-talkie, and they called me. They're like, 99, 99, or whatever the code was to go out there. And so I went out there. And that day, I was wearing my badge. Nobody could say my name, but that day I was wearing a badge that said Jennifer. And anytime I wore my real badge, Ersilia, nobody would say my name. But I was like being called Jennifer. They're like, Jennifer, Jennifer, come here. I'm like, who is Jennifer? But that was me because I was wearing the Jennifer badge that day. So I went down and Mickey is on the floor, and Mickey had just been beat up by 3 kids, and I was there and I was trying to take off Mickey's head, and they're like, do not decapitate Mickey, don't do it, because you're supposed to keep them in character. You're not supposed to decapitate Mickey, because God forbid a child sees Mickey being decapitated. It's like Santa Claus. It's like you know your mom is Santa Claus. It's the same thing. You're going to know Mickey Mouse is not really a stuffed animal walking around, God forbid, you know, and then nobody would ever come back to Disneyland. So we kept poor Mickey in character. I was trying to check him and listen to his lungs and do a blood pressure. It's really hard to do that, do a neuro exam. So I took Mickey, put him in the wheelchair, rolled him into the first aid. And then finally, when it was safe, when we were backstage, we decapitated Mickey. And we found a 16-year-old girl in Mickey. And she was freaking out. And she was doing that cry, that hyperventilation cry that I was doing in my attorney's office. And it took her, it took just a moment just to calm her down. And finally, we took her vital signs. We checked her pupillary responses. We made sure she was okay. We did a mini neuro exam. She didn't want to take off her suit. And I tried to convince her to go home. I'm like, dude, this is workman's comp. You can go home and get paid and not come to work anymore. She's like, no, I can't do that. And she wanted to go back to work. And I kept trying to convince her. It didn't work, so she put the Mickey head back on and she went back to work. So, anyway, I just started thinking about that. I mean, during my time there, I was like, she probably was Italian too, because she put on her Mickey hat and just pretended like she didn't get the shit beat out of right now. So I kind of had to do the same thing with my life, and that was it with my Disneyland job. Thank you very much.
Ersilia Pompilio! So what happened to those guys that jumped Mickey?
They ran off.
Yeah, but there's cameras everywhere. Like, did they catch him?
No, they never caught him.